Hello everyone, you join me here today in the New Forest, little place called Boulderwood. I'm sorry I haven't posted in a little while. I've had a few medical things going on. I put my back out quite badly over Christmas and sort of hasn't been right since. I've been going for tests and all sorts, but you know, that's a different story. Anyway, the reason I wanted to do a video today, I wanted to talk about pipe smoking in regards to men's mental health. And I know this is quite a tough sort of subject to talk about, especially for some people. I've been umming and ahhing about how to do this video, where to begin, what to talk about, and I thought, well, the fairest way would be to speak of my own personal experiences with mental health. So I suppose the best place to start for me would be at the beginning. So I worked as a carer and a healthcare support worker. When I was a carer, I was doing it in nursing homes. When I was a healthcare support worker, I was working in operating theatres in the local hospital. And I remember, you know, you'd see things like people passing away, and that became fairly normal. I remember I got to work. I was walking to work one day. I was walking down the road, and at the time I didn't drive. I was only young, and I just remember I felt really dizzy and off balanced. And you know, being as young as I was, I must have been about 19, 20 years old, and I put it down to, oh, maybe I'm still a bit hungover from the weekend or things like that. So I just sort of got on with it and thought, well, I'll have a good sleep and it'll be gone the next day. I'll feel better. And then the same thing happened again the next day, and I thought, well, that's not right. And anyway, this carried on for about a week or two, and I thought, well, something's not right. This isn't normal. Too much talking, not enough smoking. And so, yeah, I went to the doctors, and he sent me for blood tests and heart scans and all sorts, and that all came back clear. He said I had an athlete's resting heart rate at the time because I was physically active, and then he turned around to me and said, "Chris, I think you've got anxiety." And I remember I looked at him and I burst out laughing in his face. I mean, I was your typical 19, 20-year-old, you know, bit of a chip on my shoulder, cocksure of myself. I just couldn't believe it, and I didn't for months, absolute months. I didn't, and I remember I went food shopping with my mother, help her with the food shopping, and we were walking around Sainsbury's, and it just got so bad. I literally turned to my mum and I said, "Mum, I've got to go. I've got to leave now." And I remember I ran back to the car. I was sweating. Really bad palpitations, and I didn't know what the hell was going on, because I was certain I didn't have anxiety, because I was not an anxious person. And the more I came to accept it, the more I realised, well, hang on a minute, no, this is sort of starting to add up and make sense. I wasn't anxious about anything in particular, but I was anxious about, you know, just in general, it was just the feeling of being anxious. And yeah, it was a really hard part of my life. I've never really opened up and talked about it, and you know, it got to a point I literally used to get to I became quite agoraphobic. I used to get to my front door to try and go out to work, and I remember once I got to my front door and I was physically sick. My mind was working me up that much that I thought, you know, I've just completely shut down. And you know, I wanted to speak about this because I know there's a lot of, especially men, going out there that they're ashamed to talk about this, and I was embarrassed to talk about it in front of my friends and family. It made me feel like there was something wrong with me, and really there wasn't. I mean, a statistic is that 1 in every 3 people will go through something like this in their life, maybe once or twice. So that made me feel a little less alone, and I think making this video, if I can make anyone else feel a little less alone, then it's all worthwhile. So yeah, I remember for me, I met one of my friends, Travis. He was ex-US Marines, and he was a Marja Marine. He was in 1st Battalion 6 Marines, and Marja was the second bloodiest battle next to Fallujah. And he'd come home after doing 2 tours of Afghanistan, and I remember he spoke to me, and he started suffering quite bad with PTSD, same sort of symptoms that I had, where he was struggling to leave the house, struggling to do his day-to-day things. And so I remember me and him used to chat on video chat, and we'd sort of help each other out, like. And it started out, you know, for me it was just go for a walk, even if it's just to the end of the road and back every day, and then do it again and again and again, and repeat it until that step became natural and it was easy. And then I pushed myself a little bit further, and which is why I've come out for a walk today. You know, I've started going on these walks, and they seemed so pointless at the time and horrible, but I did it religiously, and it started to make sense, and it started to help me feel a bit better. And then, you know, I still go on these walks now, which is why I'm out here today. And yeah, I really, you know, there's a certain solace you find in just walking somewhere just on your own. Like, you don't need anyone with you. I mean, I've literally brought my pipe, obviously, a little thermos of tea, and I've got a book in there as well. I've just come out, thought I'd spend some time with you guys and myself. But yeah, I think in terms of pipe smoking, with, you know, going out and, you know, especially with anxiety and depression, those two seem to go hand in hand. And I think a good way to get over it, or, well, not to get over it, because I don't think you ever truly do. I mean, let's not sugarcoat shit and sell it as a Snickers. You don't really get over it. You learn to deal with it, and you learn to deal with it in such a way that it becomes manageable. And yeah, I wanted to talk about how the pipe sort of grounds you. The thing is, there are very few things that you can do that will sort of allow you to switch off completely, unless you're going to sleep, you know, in bed reading a book. But in day-to-day life, you don't want to spend all your day in bed, do you? So you know, I think coming out, for me, like, you know, I come out on these walks, and this really sort of helps, because you've got something to concentrate on, you've got something to stop, ground yourself with. I remember one of my friends, he had bad anxiety, and a nurse had recommended to me, she was a mental health nurse, and she'd said a good way to ground yourself is if you're out and you're feeling anxious, or, you know, bit worried or whatever, you can find 5 things you can see, 5 things you can hear, 5 things you can smell, 5 things you can touch. And what you're essentially doing is training your brain to come away from that and that feeling of anxiety or worry, and you're reconnecting yourself and getting your feet back on the ground. Now, I think the same thing can be said for a pipe. All of a sudden you've got something that you can focus on. You sit down, not only will it relax you, you're concentrating on the tamping, you know, you're jarring, you're lighting and things like that. And once it's going, you know, I mean, I know I'm rubbish at smoking and talking at the same time, but I'm trying my best. But yeah, I think I've wanted to do this video for a little while. It has been rattling around in my brain since my last video a couple of weeks ago, and you know, if you are out there, you're struggling and things like that, I know it's absolutely honking, it's shit, like you can't, there's no two ways about it. But, and I know, you know, you probably hear all these like influencers and people like that going, oh, it will get better, it will get better, but in your head you're thinking, well, when's it gonna bloody get better? Because I've been suffering for ages and it doesn't feel like it is. But it does. The thing they're not telling you is it starts with you. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I'm not saying go out there and throw yourself into the deep end, go on a massive, you know, adventure or anything like that. Do it like I did and my friend Travis. Start off with baby steps, even if it's just walking to the corner of your street or road and back every day. Like, that's a start, and do that religiously, even though it seems pointless, until it gets easier, and then push yourself a little bit further. Eventually you'll just start to naturally be able to do things that you weren't necessarily able to do because of anxiety and things. Travis, I remember him turning around to me and he said, look, I'm almost done with this shit, I'm looking for a way out. And we worked through it together. I video call him every night, and the next thing you know, he's running a car dealership, like managing that. And he said, Christ, if, you know, 2 years ago someone said I'll be doing this, he said, I would have bloody laughed in their face, I just wouldn't have believed it. So yeah, I think there are things you can do to help yourself, but it does start with you. You know, be open with your friends, talk about it. I mean, I was embarrassed to talk to my friends, and once I did, I thought, Christ, like, I wish I'd done this sooner, because 90% of them are understanding, and the 10% that weren't, they weren't worth having around anyway. They weren't very good friends, so I got rid of them. You do find out who your mates are, and I think there's a certain beauty in that. It's something that comes out of something dark, but see if we're still lit. Probably not. But yeah, don't feel like you have to go through it on your own. I'd like to create a space on this channel, especially in the comments below, like, if you're suffering, share your story. Like, we're a community here, we're the pipe smoking community, we all help each other out. Like, you know, post something about your mental health. If you're struggling, you never know, someone might come back and say, you know, like, that sounds similar to something that I've been through or I'm going through currently. And you know, it'd be good to get everyone together and help each other out, because we as blokes, we don't talk about it, do we? We're embarrassed. We like to be like, yeah, we're strong, we're tough, like, but we ain't. We're fucking human beings, and like, we have to remember that. Like, I remember, with my anxiety, I got to about 22 years old, and I remember speaking to a friend about it. He was a doctor, and he said, Chris, he said, bloody hell, like, you can only see so much death and destruction before your mind gives up. He said, like, you know, everyone's different. He said, and even seeing people die in natural circumstances, like I did in care homes, like it wasn't as full on as like if I'd seen someone die when I was working in an operating theatre. They'd had a life and they died of natural causes. It still adds up, and it chips away at you. And you know, I feel like I'm happy I can openly talk about it now. I feel comfortable doing it. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are embarrassed about talking about their mental health, and you shouldn't be. Like, I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, you should not be. Talk about it, because the more you talk about it, the more it's going to make sense to you, the more you're going to feel better. But yeah, that was pretty much the purpose of this video. I do want to do a few shout outs. There's Greg at Tunnel Take and Pipe Monkey. There's a few others. I'm not very good at remembering all of them. I don't know how you do it. If I'm honest, at this present moment, I don't even know how to tag them in a video, but I'm going to give it a go later. So guys, yeah, just turn this comment section into a space where we can all talk about how we're feeling. And that's pretty much the video I wanted to do today, so we'll leave it at that. I'm going to read my book, have a cup of tea, and try and finish this without it going out. It keeps going out because I'm nattering. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not the best at smoking and talking. But yeah, thanks very much, guys. Cheers for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Never thought I'd be saying that. And I'll catch you guys later. Have a lovely Easter weekend and stay smoky.